Hello everyone. So today we're going to do some quick review of preliminary research and then we're going to head on to begin looking at our next paper assignment. So first, remember keywords are part of our preliminary research. The goal of preliminary research is to find effective keywords and it may lead to trustworthy sources. Some of these sources listed here are good ways of finding keywords where we focus on Wikipedia and Google. Remember that most preliminary research will not be used in your final paper. It's to get your feet wet, get you to know a little background about an issue or topic before you dive into the library. If you dive into the library with your just a few keywords, you're not going to have an effective search. Don't forget, keywords are important words or concepts. The way to think about them is the most important nouns, the most important people, place, things, or idea. So as you're reading, you could take out that keywords chart that you were making for the first paper, and you can do that for the second paper. You don't need to turn in your list of keywords. You just keep them and use them for your library search. It'll make your life easier later. So it's the most important nouns, person, place, thing, or idea as you read. In Wikipedia, don't forget, start with the broad search term, then narrow as you read. Use table of content to find subjects. Use links to expand your search. Look for the main article link for more information. And sometimes you can use the citations to find original work and list keywords as you read. So let's do a quick search again, Japan and hip hop. I'll just do this quick one just as a refresher here. So I luck out, there it is. And I start reading and I start taking down these keywords. Look at the founder and so on. I don't think there are any here, but you look for the main article. It would say main article here, and you click through and you can get a lot more information if you find main article. But say you couldn't find Japanese hip hop. Instead, you could go Japan and music. So broaden it, see if you can find anything there. Then you go to music, and we don't want traditional. You could go arrival of Western music or popular music, and that's where you go, right down to hip hop. Okay, or say it's not there, so you broaden it from hip hop to music and you find it. Uh, and by the way, here's an example of that main article you should look for. If you click through there, you get a lot more information. Okay, so say you don't find it under Japan and hip hop, you don't find it under Japan and music, then you just go to Japan. And then you look down at the table of contents and you find something related to your topic. This would be under culture, and you could go to, and it's not there. Let's see, is it under something else? No? Well, let's look under culture, see what we can find. Architecture, literature, and philosophy. There we go, music in Japan, right? So start at your topic and broaden outwards. Don't forget, you can say there's a fact you really like and you want to use. You could, it's unlikely, but you could click down to the citation if there is one. Say right here, and you look down and you say, nope, that's not something I can use. Look, there might be a book, so that might be something you could look up in the library search if that was a helpful source for you. Or look for volume and issue numbers to see if you can find any academic journals. There's another book if you see ISBNs, so you could check those out, see if they're trustworthy or not. I'm not seeing any academic journals, but I'm seeing a lot of books. So you could always look those up and see if they're helpful. Okay, so that's Wiki, and then for Google, you just search your topic, and you find articles. I think you guys are good at this, right? And you just look for articles. Try to look towards more trustworthy, like something like BBC would be more trustworthy. Um, Although, again, the main goal here is just to generate keywords, get your feet wet on the topic. Okay, so that is our quick review on preliminary research. Now let's go down to the actual paper topic for the second paper. It's on page 34 of the handout packet. What we're going to do is an argument based on a news video. So what you're going to do is you're going to watch some news videos, and you're then going to do research based on a topic from that video. Now, a couple of things here. So first of all, remember, the reason you're going to do research on this, so say you're watching the news one night, or say someone sends you a clip from a newscast, and it's about another culture or whatever. When you see that news video, you don't know if it's trustworthy or not. You don't know if there's a political slant, if there's a corporate slant, if they're trying to advocate for something. You have no idea if that news video is trustworthy or not. So kind of one of the goals of this assignment is going to be you start with the news video, then you do research to find out how trustworthy it is. Okay? So, and then you're going to ultimately develop an argument based on it. Now, one important thing you'll hear me emphasize a few times is that the paper does not need to be on the main topic of the news video. For instance, there's a video on rape in South Africa, and I've had students choose that video, and some choose to cover rape. Some choose to talk about the incarceration system there instead. That it's in the video, it's not the main point of the video, but they are inspired to look into that topic. Others say, oh man, they're talking about men with all these problems. What about what's happening in their education system to lead to this problem? So they may end up studying education. So it doesn't have to be the main topic of the video, but as you're watching videos, try to say what's an argument or what's something, a topic in this video that I would be interested in looking into, researching, and ultimately making an argument about. Okay, so here's some of the description of the assignment. The art of argumentation is not an easy skill to acquire. Many people might think that if one simply has an opinion, one can argue it effectively, and these folks are always surprised when others don't agree with them because their logic seems so correct. Additionally, writers of argumentation often forget that their primary purpose in an argument is to sway the reader to accept their point of view. It is easy to name call, to ignore the point of view, or to accept one's own opinion as gospel, even if the writer has not checked his or her premise in a couple of years. This is also true with young writers who have not questioned belief inherited from others. Okay, so a couple of things here. One, we all have blind spots. We all have biases. Our brain is actually designed with stereotyping and biases in our mind. It's the way we make sense of the world. If we didn't generalize about the world, we wouldn't be able to make any sense out of what we're seeing each day, right? It's actually part of evolutionary biology as well. Tens of thousands of years ago, if you were on the savannah and you stereotyped lions, you were more likely to survive. And so you passed those mental habits on to to your offspring. And after thousands and thousands of generations, that became how we were hardwired, right? So we always have to realize we might have biases, we might have blind spots, and so we should always try to be cognizant of that. Okay, the other main thing in this paragraph that I want to point out is that primary purpose of argument is to sway the reader. So our culture has kind of devolved often to view argument as yelling, or to view argument as forcefully telling my point of view, right? And that's not the point of argument at all. The goal of argument is to persuade or sway someone. And so if you're forcefully telling your point of view in a way that's aggressive, or you're name calling or overgeneralizing or whatever it might be, you're actually doing the opposite of argumentation. You're pushing people away. We think of people on talk radio or on cable news yelling their point of view. That's not argument, it's the opposite of it. Okay, so want to know what you think about something? Then write an argumentative essay. Avoid writing about issues that cannot be won, no matter how strongly you feel about them. Also, care should be taken that after thinking about one side of an issue, think through the other side as well. Far too many individuals only think about the side they believe in. This hurts the strength of the argument because they are not addressing the concerns of someone that does not agree with them or the people that they're trying to convince. You do not need to write about the opposing position. Instead, think about how to convince somebody with an opposing viewpoint as you write the paper. So, a couple of things here. So first, usually for the first draft for this paper, 3/4 of students who turn it in don't have an argument. And so as you're writing your draft, really think about what would the person say on the opposite side of this. If you can't come up with that, that means you don't have an argument. So think about that. You should also think about that other person's point of view and how you would convince them. So, for instance, when I used to have a completely open topic choice, I'd get hundreds of papers on abortion, death penalty, all those hot button issues, right? And so I changed that eventually for a number of reasons. One was because it was hard to get original writing on those topics. I'd have hundreds of papers on abortion and not an original idea in the bunch. After years and years of that, I actually, I remember only having one paper that had original ideas in it. And on the topic, it was somebody who was pro-choice, and they were trying to convince somebody who's pro-life. But what they did is they conceded a lot of ground. They said, hey, you know, or I'm sorry, it's the opposite, pro-life, trying to convince somebody who is pro-choice to come to their side. They gave a lot of ground and said, hey, you know, how about we agree to start making some laws on this topic, but, you know, before we do that, we help women in this way, this way, this way. We reform the adoption system. We make birth control free, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, you could argue still somebody on the other side of that would not agree, right? But it might draw them closer to your position, which is the goal of argument. Draw somebody closer to your position. Every other paper I had was not original. So make sure you're thinking about the opposite side and how to convince somebody. That'll help make sure you have an argument as your topic. So what do you write about? As I said, the paper will be based on a country from a non-Western culture. So look back in the handout packet at our country list. Make sure it's in one of the regions that we've been studying: Africa, Asia, the Middle East, India, Pakistan region, and such. And as I said, it can be loosely from the video, or it can even change a little as you research, but the topic idea does need to start from a news video, okay? You do need to start with the seed of an idea from news video, because that's kind of the main idea of the assignment, is to watch a news video and then evaluate it, find out what's the real story, right? The issue must be an arguable claim that a reasonable person can disagree with. This is extremely important. You're going to hear me emphasize this a few times. A reasonable person has to disagree with it. So it can't just be human trafficking is bad, right? Or modern slavery is horrific, or that sort of thing. Because a reasonable person can't disagree with that. However, if you say something like, the best way to solve human trafficking is through education and through supporting women and things like that, then you could a reasonable person could disagree with that, right? So keep that in mind. It has to be a claim that a reasonable person could disagree with. Continue to make sure you have a strong ethos. So make sure you don't write, I believe that the toilet crisis in India presents an opportunity. Instead, you should write, the toilet crisis in India presents an opportunity because, right? Avoid referring to yourself or the reader as it weakens your ethos. Make sure you have a convincing argument and make sure that you have a reasonable tone. I think in this case it'll be easy for you because these topics aren't the hot button topics in the US, right? But still, it's important to know in a research paper and an argument paper, you should maintain a reasonable tone. If you, in the first paragraph, say something that pushes someone away, then that's the opposite of what an argument paper should be. The paper requirements will be the same as the last paper, 5 pages plus a works cited, and 7 sources. 5 of them need to be academic journals, and the other 2 can be any trusted source. And it'll be the same guidelines as last time as well. Okay, so that's all for today. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Email me, come to Zoom hours. I'll do anything I can to help you. Thanks.